Hello everyone, it's me Clayton. I just finished watching Crimes of the Future, directed by David Cronenberg. Now, any fan of body horror worth their salt probably knows of David Cronenberg's works. And when it comes to this film, it not only brings him back to the sci-fi genre for the first time in years, but it also happens to have some excellent performances from a talented cast and body horror that makes full use of the R rating. Let's get to the story, shall we? The story takes place in a future where there's this performance art where people can grow different organs within their bodies as they get used to a new synthetic environment. And Saul Tenser, played by Viggo Mortensen, is one of those performance artists who, along with his assistant Caprice, played by Celia Seydoux, they dazzle the audiences by taking out pieces of Saul Tenser's body as he happens to grow new ones in their places, and they happen to give the audience a thrill they've never seen before. But when Timlin, this woman in the National Organ Registry, played by Kristen Stewart, happens to take an interest in Saul, she happens to find that he not only is completely eligible for an inner beauty pageant, but she happens to find that he could be the key to unlocking a new step of human evolution. But that's all I'll say about the story. Cronenberg definitely is known for a lot of gore in his stories, but this one's done in a more abstract and artistic way. Not only is the gore beautifully rendered and beautifully done with a lot of great effects, but it happens to not be used for cheap shock value, but instead happens to be done for not the best of your squeamish, but still interesting performance art. Now, performance art is, especially ones involving the human body, aren't for everyone, but I personally found a lot of the art interesting in the way that an art critic would find a certain painting interesting. It happens to speak to a very niche audience, but at the same time, that's always been part of Cronenberg's appeal. The fact that he doesn't try to go for the mainstream and he doesn't try to copy modern trends, he just does his own weird thing. And this movie definitely does that, while also allowing Mortensen and Lea Seydoux to work well off each other. It's clear Lea Seydoux is able to do more than just be a good Bond girl. And on top of that, Kristen Stewart ends up having a pretty good performance as Temlin. It's kind of surprising how far she's gone since Twilight, and I could say the same for both her and Robert Pattinson. However, this film isn't exactly perfect, as there are large stretches of the film that do feel like they're a bit repetitive, and there are some moments that feel like the film is going pretty light on plot. Granted, it does come in near the end, and it does feel like it does touch on some interesting ideas throughout, but I would have liked to see some of the ideas explored a bit more, rather than some of them feeling like they're just there for futuristic window dressing. On top of that, I do think that I would have liked a few more of the actual body art performances, because the ones we do have are clearly the abstract and visceral highlights of the film, and where Cronenberg is clearly at his directing strengths. While it is clear that this film isn't one of Cronenberg's strongest, I do think it's still an interesting one to add to his filmography. And if you like his previous works, I'm sure you'll like this one a lot. That's why I'm going to give Crimes of the Future a 7.5 out of 10. See you next time.